Hi guys, this is Holistic Health with Harry. Today we're joined across the pond, the virtual pond, by Paige Carmichel. How are you, Paige?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful, Harry. I'm so grateful to be here.
It's my honor, my friends, and I'll tell you guys an honest truth about me and Paige. That literally you came up on my Facebook out of nowhere. Mm,
Literally, I tried to find the link back from that live video. I tried to find it afterwards. I was like, how did Harry show up here? And I
yeah,
couldn't find it. Literally, you just popped up out of
hmm,
nowhere.
crazy, huh? I thought there was are you stalking me. That would have been such a better story. But hey, it's just what out of nowhere. It's all good.
Not this time, not this time.
And like, it was a DMT talk I was doing live, and you commented on it, and
Right.
it resonated with you. So I did check out afterwards your page, and you seemed very awesome. Like you had your own website, you had your own following on Instagram and Facebook. Seemed well put together, and I definitely thought, hey, this is the kind of girl I'd love to have the interview. And I know a very powerful girl that's got a great story. So, Paige, can we start with um, hmm,
My
your,
story.
your story? I hate that question though, don't you? It's annoying, isn't it? Like,
Yes, I
hmm,
do. Yeah, I really like to take people back. Basically, how I got into the line of work that I'm into now, like working in the mindset. I really work in the mind. I've always been an intellect, and so that's kind of where my work has led. It started into fitness, and then went from there into the mindset. But it really began. I take people back to December of 2015. So about almost 5 years now, or 4 years now, or over that. I actually got pneumonia. I was very sick. I got pneumonia twice. I was 20 years old at the time, and it completely knocked me out. I was essentially couch bound. I could barely move around. I could barely breathe. It was literally like sipping oxygen through a straw, if you've heard that term before. And so at 20 years old, this was a huge shock to me. I was like, oh my God, I should not be experiencing this type of illness at this age. Ironically enough, my father had gotten sick 6 months prior. He was 57, and he actually got diagnosed with cancer of the larynx, and it began to spread throughout his entire body. My father, however, did not take very good care of his health either. Now, he was fairly active. He was ex-military, but he was a drinker. He was a smoker. His addictions really led his life. And so he was getting sick. I was getting sick. And I was really coming to these realizations of, what am I doing? What have I been doing to myself? Because I was, at the time, I was smoking cigarettes for 7 years then. As an asthmatic, I was diagnosed an asthmatic as a child.
hmm.
And so I had this huge kind of epiphany looking at myself and my choices that I was making to get me to this point of really life and death, because I was to the point, fortunately, where I wasn't in the hospital, but that was very close. There was a thin veil there. And so it was, per se, life and death there. And I had to really look at my choices. And so I had to right away, January 1st, I decided to quit smoking cigarettes. I started to do that. And that really kind of opened up a whole door to really figuring out my mindset, because I didn't have any coping mechanisms. When I was growing up, that was my coping mechanism, to smoke. When I was happy, I was smoking. When I was angry, I was smoking. When I was sad, I was smoking. And so when the smoking stopped and those emotions came up, I didn't know how to deal with them. In stepped, breath work, guided meditations. Guided meditations were actually the first type of like breath work or meditation or mindset work that I started to do. And I started just then to really notice that there was a connection between the breath and the brain. And so that year continued on. It was a very hard year. Fortunately, I relapsed with my cigarettes a few times, but come February 23rd of 2016, I did quit. And I have been quit now for over 4 years. So God
Nice.
bless.
Congratulations.
However, thank you so much. And a lot of that is due to also my father. I unfortunately did get to watch him pass away from cancer. And also he was, living in his addictions at the time. So we don't really know, you never know really what is the end cause, right? But he did pass away in living in his addictions. And I had to deal with that. And work through that. My father and I had a very tumultuous relationship. Being a child of an alcoholic was hard growing up. figuring that out. Yeah. So at the age of 20, you know, for the years leading up to that, I was pretty angry. But when his death came, you know, and leading up to that, when he was on hospice and stuff, you know, we had to reach this point of closure. And it allowed me to really, really do a lot of healing. And in that healing, I found, you know, that hurt people. Also heal people, which is something I teach all the time. But yeah, so my dad passed away and I had to continue to work through that. All of those feelings that were really what I was smoking about, you know, what I was getting angry about, what I was crying about. I was having to deal with those emotions and figuring out how to do so because I was no longer smoking. So that year was really hard. 2016, I kind of call like my tower year. Continuing on, it was November of 2016, and I was actually planning to move my mother from Chicago to Colorado, where I've been living the last 3 years without her. So we had packed her up or whatever. She's all packed. We are sleeping and we're getting ready to leave at like 5 a.m. this next morning. It's the 27th of November, and we're sleeping. Like I said, it's 3 a.m. the next morning. So now it's the 28th. We get a phone call, my boyfriend at the time and I, that our house is on fire back in Colorado. So obviously went into total shock, like right away. We're like, oh my God, okay, great. Well, let's just pack our stuff up. Let's get mom moved. Like, let's get on the road. We don't know what's going on. Let's get home. So we get on the road. We drive 11 hours to get to Colorado. When we get into Colorado, we're 11 hours in and we are in the middle of nowhere. When you drive into this state, there's literally just like fields, open fields for hours, which I'm sure you're familiar with. So we're just driving, we're in the middle of nowhere. My house had caught on fire at the beginning of that day, so we're already really stressed out, and my engine blows in my car.
No way.
And at that time, I literally threw up my hands. Like, I was like, what now? And before I could actually finish that, a voice came into my head. I said, what? And the voice said, your mom is alive driving the car behind you. Like, you have so much to be grateful for still, even though your house has got on fire, even though your car has, you know, blown up, you have so much to be grateful for still. And it humbled me in that moment. We continued, we had to get a tow truck. So it took us 3 hours for the tow truck to get to us, 3 hours for the tow truck to take us back to our house. And at the time when we were in Illinois, we were staying with my boyfriend at the time's parents, and they had all of our sleeping things. So when we drove, we had nothing to sleep with. So we went to our home that had caught on fire, and we wanted to try to get anything to sleep on, a pillow, anything. Well, that was null and void. Everything smelled like smoke and asbestos. And so we went to my mom's rental with basically nothing, anything we had with us on our travels. And that night I ended up taking the sweatshirt off and sleeping on the sweatshirt that I was wearing. And it was another really, really humbling moment for me, because at that point, I did realize that everything could be taken from us at a moment's notice. You know, we hear about terrible natural disasters that wipe out homes, you know, beautiful homes that were there just a moment before, gone. And I realized that we really only have a few things in those times, and that is our breath and hope that it will get better, that the sun will rise again. And so from that moment, I really, really started to kind of flip the script in my brain. I really started to break down the programming that was going on up there, and continue to dive deep into that work. And so, yeah, I've been working on that since. I've been building my two-step process to overcoming my anxiety anytime it shows up, or my anxious thoughts anytime it shows up. And I've been testing it for a few years, because I wanted to make sure that this was real, that this actually worked before I was going to go out into the world and teach it. And honestly, I was kind of blown away, because I struggled with anxiety my entire life. I was diagnosed with anxiety when I was 15 and 16. I was medicated for some time, and I needed that at the time. I want to make that statement clear. I needed medication at that time, and it served me so well. I have no judgment against anyone that decides to medicate for anything, but it didn't serve me any longer. So I did decide to get off my medications at some point. It was a few years ago. And that's when I really had to go really deep into that breath work, really deep into my affirmations, and really deep into my 2-step process that I teach now. Because I didn't know how to deal with it. And since using this 2-step process, like I said, I've been kind of flabbergasted that it actually works because we've lived with anxiety so much and it ran my life in so many ways. That it's awesome. I really love it because I teach people, we can't be living our fullest, highest potential if we're anxious all the time. If we're anxious about how we're going to show up in the world, oh, my hair might look weird, or what about my weird outfit, or maybe they'll think I'll say something stupid, or maybe he doesn't care to hear what I have to say, or maybe this offer will get no one. If we don't own ourselves, our story, and learn how to overcome those anxious thoughts, then we can't show up and do our purpose, which is really, really special. We are here for an important reason, as I know you know, and we need to be able to overcome those thoughts in order to do our purpose here, in order to live our fullest expression. So I'm so happy to be here. I absolutely love sharing this work. It's my baby. I call it my baby because I have a fur child right now, but this is my baby in the world that I'm really, really grateful to share.
Thanks so much. I can see the passion coming across, and you've been through a lot from that quick story, which probably doesn't surmise everything. That's just quick highlights to get across to people, and that's great and wonderful. But so I'm fascinated here by that story. But you also, if you don't mind going into a little bit too, I saw pictures on the website, your website, and you were quite obese. Is that fair to say? Or you were quite tubby? And I don't think you are now. I mean, I'm looking at you now visually, and you seem okay in size. I mean, not I'm judging or anything, but there seems a difference there.
Definitely, when I was 16 years old, the picture you saw was taken at my 16th birthday. And it's kind of iconic for me because as a 16-year-old, you think of that as like they're getting their first car, they're like living life, they're like, yes, this is awesome. And it was actually the opposite for me at my 16th birthday. I was the heaviest weight I had ever been. I was the most insecure I had ever been. I was in a toxic relationship. I was toxic to myself. So that was hard. I had a lot of self-esteem issues that stemmed back to my childhood, stemmed back to my relationship with my alcoholic father. And really, it wasn't until I started to break down those beliefs about myself that things started to change. I could listen to people tell me to do this exercise or drink that or do that, but until I really cared about myself, until I stopped coming from a place of judgment and came from a place of love, things started to change. Even it probably took me, because I want to say I was probably I was 21 or 22. It was only the last few years that I really started to get a balanced relationship with my health, my fitness, my body. Because for so long, I was a researcher. I was searching the webs, oh, what's the best diet? What's the best thing? What am I supposed to do? What are macros or this or portions? You know what I mean? For years, I was just an information muncher. I just loved munching information. And I wasn't listening to myself. People were like, yeah, macros are great. You need this much protein and this, that. And, I programmed that into my brain. And then when I stopped listening to what everyone was telling me and I started listening to what my body was telling me, because it's different for all of us, sometimes I can eat red meat and feel great and other people feel terrible. So it's just, we're all different. We all have different ancestral lineages, so when I stopped listening to everyone else and I started to listen to what felt good for me, things started to change. And really for me, when I started to work out at home, I hated the gym. I was so insecure. I hated people staring at me. And so I found a company that offered an online on-demand library. And it's basically a Netflix of fitness. And basically I started using that and I loved it because my trainer was on my screen telling me what to do every single second. I have people in my program doing it with me, so I'm not getting my butt kicked by myself. And it also is just like so easy, cut and clear. So like anything you wanted, if you wanted meal plans, they're there. If you want a cooking show, which I really need to check out because I'm not that great of a cook, there's a cooking show and it's so awesome. It's literally just like Netflix, like you log in and it's right here. And I could take it anywhere. And although the on-demand library is fabulous, actually what really won my heart is the community that comes with it when you join. You actually get to be a part of an online accountability group. And so you have other people that are doing the same thing as you, just trying to be the healthiest version of themselves. And so we encourage each other in our groups. We post our sweaty selfies. We post our superfood shakes that we drink every day because we know, as you know, I was just watching your video with Alice. I think her name was Alice.
Alice, yeah, Alice.
Yeah, about superfoods. Yeah. So we just encourage each other to be really healthy and to become the best versions of ourselves every day. And that made a huge difference because doing stuff alone is okay, but doing stuff together with a community is amazing.
It's kind of what we're doing now. We're making that connection. We realize that we're helping other people, but other people are helping us, and we're light workers. We're all light workers, and we all have souls, and we're all here to do good, and we must help because, look, there's no doubt that you've done for an incredible amount myself, and so many in the communities who are watching this have done incredible amounts by yourself, and there is something to be said for that work by yourself. You can't avoid the shadow, but there's a time and place for doing your self-work, and there's a time and place for, hey, I need help, I need encouragement, I need other people to G me up because I need motivation. We all do at times, definitely. I agree.
Right. We can't pour from an empty cup. So we do need other people to help fill our cup. And I love our platforms that we have now. Like Instagram is one of my favorites. I love to fill up my cup from Instagram. It's just, I feel a complete different energy. And maybe you do as well from Instagram than Facebook sometimes. And it might just be me and my Facebook community versus my Instagram community. But I love the fact, I truly believe that we are out of the era of competition and we are in the era of collaboration. And it is so beautiful. It is so beautiful because I believe we can all go to the top. We can all be abundant and have plentiful. We can have overflow. So,
wow, even I need to hear that message sometimes. Even me today is listening to that and thinking, hey, because I get into competitive mode too. And I hear you, my soul hears you, but my lower self, my ego is like, hey, I need to be competitive. I was literally just talking to someone, don't mind sharing with people here and you, that on energy thing, that I'm, one of my problems or weaknesses is sometimes I can be competitive with other people. And that's also a good thing, but at times it can make me a little bit my version of depressed. I'll carry on doing what I'm doing. I've got such important work to do. But yeah, I noticed that I've got to start reminding myself, hey, we're doing this for the higher good. And the truth is that there is no competition. We can all rise to the top and it's all going to be great up there. And it is great. The journey's great, man. It's fabulous. I love it.
Right. And it's kind of a balance. Like we have to look at other people to be inspired and to help us go to our next level because it is always out there and we need people to inspire us or else we would just be sitting here like twiddling our thumbs.
Right.
If we don't continue to strive to be better, then yeah, what are we doing here? Right. But yeah, I feel like there used to be an energy of like jealousy, and I can get it too. There's a fine line, right? To when you're looking at someone's stuff and you're like, okay, I like how they do this. I need to implement in this business.
Copy in a nice way. Yeah, copy is fine.
Right. Versus like, wow, geez, if only my abs looked like that. Like, there's like, it's just like, there's a fine line. Or like, wow, why doesn't my video come across like that? Or her editing so much better. Like, it's a fine line.
It's true. Without the competition, though, without the comparison, we wouldn't. I was thinking about this too. Like, if you are completely secure and comfortable and present, like completely with who you are, there would be no desire at all to grow. So, like you said, there's the balance between, hey, look, you can be happy, extremely happy where you are now, but you also like, there's a nice not to be so that I can keep moving forward and growing because we live in duality and we've come here, in my opinion, I'm sure you agree with me, to learn lessons in duality and to rise above and to become the greatest versions of ourselves and heal ourselves and then heal other people through us on our walking our levels of duality and going up on that way. So.
Right. And every single next level version that you can step into helps other people see that they have other next versions that they can step into as well. And I didn't it's crazy because I think it's Jim Carrey that says, I hope everyone achieves their dreams because they'll realize that that's not what they want. That's not their dreams. Because when you have that big vision and you get there, then you're like, well then, guess I got to make a bigger dream. And it's awesome. It's an amazing feeling, but also it's challenging, which is great.
Yeah, I love that. There's a term for it called hedonic adaptation. Have you heard of it?
I have not. I'm going to write that down right now. I love that.
Thanks for being, yeah, I like that. Yeah, so the hedonic adaptation is a thing we've got, like, so say we get like more money, and we get used to that period of money. So at the beginning, the first few days in a new relationship, a honeymoon, first few months is fun, first few months of the new car, first few months of the new house, and then the human mechanism is one of adaptation, and then you just want more and more and more. So if you're looking out there for the answers, like if you're looking out there in the materialistic world, it's going to keep disappointing you because you're always going to get acclimatized to it. Therefore, it's obvious why celebrities that don't do the inner work and just do it for the fame and the money get undepressed, unhappy, and cut their hair and do crazy things, because hedonic adaptation, which we can fight by helping other people and being grateful and constantly growing spiritually, emotionally, physically. So
right, yeah, and it's just so interesting that when you do reach that level, like I said, you just realize, you realize that those things aren't that important. When you do get the job you want, or the money, or the whatever, those physical things, they really aren't that important. That, that's not serving you. I've had it. I've had the money. I've had the fine dinners. I've had that. And I was still depressed. I was still living in my addictions. I was still toxic to myself. It didn't matter how much money was in my bank account. If I didn't have, if I didn't have the love in here, if I didn't have love for myself, if I wasn't truly happy. And sometimes that's like the hardest part, right? Like just being happy can be hard sometimes. And I think when we come back to those simple things that I often forget, like breath work, right? Or sun gazing.
Oh, you do sun gazing too? Okay, I didn't know that you did sun gazing, and that's cool. That's cool.
A little bit. I need to read and listen to more of your stuff, because I was under the impression that it was beneficial mostly at dawn and dusk.
It is beneficial at times. Not mostly. Take out the word mostly and say beneficial at those times. Definitely. Yeah, it is.
Okay. But it's beneficial at all times.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to push, and not just me. People that passed on knowledge through Facebook, actually. I've been through Facebook University. That's my program, Brainwashing. Someone told me 2 years ago, and I'm like you. I hear it, and I'm like, okay, he's done it for years and never got any damage. And I was like, okay, so I could try it myself. And I started out with midday sun gazing. I didn't do the other two, and kicked off from there. And I experienced very powerful brain hemisphere rebalance, and it's very magical. And I feel like part of my mission is to tell people that looking at the sun at any time of the day, like you just said, is a good thing. So yeah,
I've always loved the sun. I feel a huge difference. I actually moved from Chicago to Colorado to chase 300 days of sunshine a year here.
Nice.
So I'll have to definitely get out into the sun and do
Whereabouts in Colorado are you? I know Boulder's in Colorado. I'm going there in the States, but whereabouts in Colorado?
Yeah, so I'm actually, I'd say 45 minutes north of Boulder.
Oh, wow. Cool. And you said there's lots of space around. It's a very spacious county. Is that state even?
Yeah, so everything's kind of spread out. It's kind of strange, but you'll be kind of tucked in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, in this little beautiful area, this little town that's right there. On the front range of the mountains, it's pretty packed in, but as you head east, it gets more like farmland and open.
Cool. Sounds awesome. We'll definitely have to come visit when I do my tour, when we're allowed to visit again from this COVID thing. So I want to ask as well, you said you have a 2-part method. I don't know if you're going to discuss with us, but give us a clue, if you're not, about what your 2-part method that you said is foolproof can help people with that just need the help. So
Yeah, I love to teach it for sure, because it's so simple and I need it to get out there. And if people want to go further, they can access it from my Instagram, all of that. It's super cheap. I like to keep it cheap that way. I want to get it out to the world, but or it's inexpensive, I should say. 2-step process. So I love to tell people, when your anxiety arises, you go, bah, anxiety. It's B-A. Bah, anxiety.
You're giving it some personality. You're giving it some personality.
Yeah,
okay, I like that.
Definitely. So first, when you're anxious, normally you'll find that you're not breathing. You're normally like, oh my God, what's going on? Everything's going crazy. And so like, I know that a lot of us recently experienced this, and maybe have experienced it a lot more as this pandemic has been going on. I know when it started, even myself, who teaches this work fell into kind of an anxiety attack. And so we do realize that we're not breathing. And so first, when you feel yourself getting anxious, or an anxiety attack, as a lot of people call it, I like to tell people to catch your breath. Think for your breath. And the easiest thing for me to do is to count my breath. And so I will do that, as I'm sure you know. You will inhale for a count, hold for a count of 2, and then exhale as much. And I actually will just count as long as I can. If you can only count a 3 inhale because you're that anxious, that's okay. Go and increase as long as you can. But just finding your breath is going to do a lot for you, because I truly believe if you can control your breath, you can control your brain. So that's step 1. Step 2, once you have your breath kind of controlled, you're a little bit less anxious, you can really start to look at those thoughts that are circulating, because those are those anxious thoughts. And that's what we actually have to stop and reprogram, to stop the anxiety from coming in the future, because we don't just want to cope, we want to heal, right? And so you're going to look at the programming, the thought that's going on. And so like, a thought I might have is that the world is, everything is going to shit. Like, let's just say that. Everything's going
like some people believe that. Some people believe that's happening now, that kind of stuff. So.
Totally. This is totally a thought that has come up during this time. Everything's going to shit. And what I teach is that you affirm the opposite. Everything is not going to shit. Everything is being made more magical. Everything is being made more beautiful.
Okay, just interrupt a second. So what happens if someone doesn't believe it? They've got major resistance because the pathways are completely blocked. They're completely fully embodying their thoughts, and it just sounds ridiculous to them to say the opposite. Would you still try?
Yeah, so I believe that your brain believes everything you tell it. Our subconscious actually doesn't know what is truth and what is fiction. So if we just keep repeating it, if you've ever heard the fake it till you make it thing, it's kind of the same thing. You just fake it till you make it. You're like, nope, nope. I literally used to do this. I still do. Nope, nope. Everything's okay. Everything's great. We're doing wonderful. The world's going to be made perfect again and beautiful, more awesome than ever. Like, you can tell my energy is not there. Like, I'm like, I don't know about this, but I am saying those words and my brain is hearing them, and slowly but surely it works. And actually sometimes it's not slow, sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes you reprogram it once and then it goes. And so now it has taken, like I said, it goes back to how far the programming is. You know, there was programming that I've had for 25 years that I'm still working on figuring out. You know, that's why I have anxiety still that comes up. It's not completely healed. And I don't know if we ever will be. I think it's one of those things that we continue, it's one of those circular things that we continue to come back to and relearn and have to re-practice, which is why I'm so grateful to this process to help me and everyone else every time it shows up. Because every time I put it in, slowly but surely, I do have less and less anxiety. I believe that our anxiety is a direct representation of our lack of faith in ourselves and the universe that created us, because they cannot exist simultaneously. Faith and anxiety cannot exist simultaneously.
I like that. Let's go back there. Repeat. Faith and anxiety cannot exist simultaneously, and our lack of our anxiety comes as a direct result of a lack of faith in the universe and ourselves. It's powerful. 2 big quotes there. Thanks. Yeah. That was whoosh.
Thank you. Yeah, those are definitely some of my favorites. That's just what I've learned in my breaking down, in my analytics of my own mindset, in my own programming. Because like I said, when we are living in that anxiety and that anxious state, and that old programming, a lot of us, it's old programming that we just need to, nope, we're done with that. We're new programming. Then we can step into the life that we're meant to live, the new world, the magic that we're meant to experience.
I love that. Yeah. And I feel like I checked out your website just before we came on quickly. Yeah. And I feel like we are kind of similar and a lot of people also maybe they feel like resonate this too, that I've been seriously depressed, and I've had some highlights of how bad it was for me, stay with me, that would shock other people, I guess, to how dark and depressed and how much I hated people, because I hated everybody. Of course, it started with me, so I hated myself. But the
Yes.
manifestation of hating myself was I hated everybody. I lost trust in people, and I hated the world, and I thought nobody cared about me. I think that was the key. So when I look back to my journey, I think I've had to reprogram. I didn't do. I'll tell you what though, I didn't do affirmations, but what I did do is I read a book called Suzanne Jeffers' Feel the Fear, Face the Fears, Face Your Fears and Face Your Fears and Do It Anyway.
Yeah.
Through that, I began reclaiming my brain in the darkness, for which I'm not finished now. But I've just changed so much in terms of from so dark to kind of like super positive. And it doesn't matter what happens to my outside circumstances, I'll always have like that change to be proud of. And it's
Yeah.
crazy how much you can change, but it does, from my experience, I'm sure you agree, it does take time. Like if you've done like 10 years of like indentations of darkness, it does take, like, you do the work every day and it will slowly change, but people should not expect miracles. And I do believe miracles do happen. It's paradox to say what we're saying, but I mean, it took me a long time. It took you a long time. We're still working on ourselves. So yeah.
In a way, like I said, sometimes some beliefs do take a while to reprogram, and sometimes you are going to affirm that and then it just happens. Like things just change, like a change can happen. Miracles do happen.
Yeah.
You say one thing that sparks a change in someone else and has the huge butterfly effect. You know what I mean? We really don't know what action is going to have another reaction. And it's super fun and super magical. I had another thought, but I lost it in my brain.
That's okay.
Gosh.
I was gonna share as well. When I was growing up with parents that are quite disciplined and strict and constricted, and so I didn't know for the longest. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I'll share it with you and everyone else that I didn't know self-improvement was actually a thing. I didn't actually know until I was like 20 years old, because I was that programmed by my parents and I just didn't have many friends at school. So I was getting progressively worse, depressed, suicidal, all those kind of things. But I didn't know I didn't even know. I wish I did, but I don't wish. I didn't know there was an option to change. As soon as my friend gave me this book about self-improvement, I was like, what? I can change? That changed me. That changed me from the moment I didn't even, it's crazy. It's mad when I think about it. I was one of the few people in the world that didn't know that you could actually, whilst I was getting worse, I could actually, as soon as I knew it, I was like, okay, here we go. I'm not saying it's been an easy ride since then, but all I needed was the belief that I could change and that it was possible, because I was reading in this book that you can change and any human can change. And that got me excited. And I've never really stopped being passionate about self-improvement, even though I talk about physical health. I'm really self-improvement, aren't I? We all are. Like, we're all
Right. Yeah.
self-improving.
Yeah, definitely. I'm the same way. We can change at any moment. And that's so awesome. Like, that's so magical. Just the power to change your story at any moment, to say like, no, I don't think I'm going to resonate with that belief any longer. I am going to hold space for something better in the future. Like, and that is, you're talking about when you had reached a really dark place. You had received that book, and I was kind of in that same place in 2016, right after my house had burned down and my car blew up. It was along the same time I actually had joined my fitness business, which was a blessing that I had no idea of. But I also received this book that was The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein.
Right.
And I had no basis of faith prior to that book. Besides that voice coming really loud in my head that one time in my car, I really didn't have a very big basis of faith. And so when I started to believe that the universe had my back, it did give me the light in the dark, because it didn't matter where I was. It didn't matter how dark the room was. I believed that the universe had my back, and just that I had a purpose, which is what I really talk about now. I sought God for so long. I was like, who's God? Where is he? What does he look like? What's this? Like, and I had this vision come through recently that God is the reason that our heart is beating right now instead of stopping. It is the reason that we didn't have an aneurysm last night, that we woke up to live and breathe and be today. Our purpose is, the universe, whatever you believe. And for a long time, the word God freaked me out. And so I like the universe. I still go back to that all the time and say the universe has my back, or I'm a child of the universe, because it feels better to me. I'm kind of a scientist. So I think there's some in that. I'm an astronomer, astrologer. So yeah, I love all that stuff. So Yeah. When I began to believe, and that goes back to what we were talking about, faith in yourself and faith in the universe. When you believe that the universe has your back, it doesn't matter who leaves you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it can be a lonely, lonely place here. And everyone is going to leave. And that's what I learned, of course, in life when anyone passes, or any animal or any being. But when my father left, especially, it's so hard to accept that, the impermanence. And just to really trust that the universe has my back is almost like my little blankie at night, where I'm just like, oh, well, it's going to be okay because the universe has my back. Like,
Yeah.
no matter what, even if the time clock does end at any time,
Yeah.
it'll be okay because the universe has my back.
That reminds me of like Nietzsche has a quote saying, if you're worried about how to do something, you just need a big why. When you have a big why, any how can be obliterated. And if you have that why of, hey, it doesn't matter what I do here, I'm doing it for a higher purpose because I come here for a reason and the universe has my back because I'm a light being that's here to do good work and shine my lessons and light onto other people, then you don't need to worry about stuff, right?
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we're going to face hard things in life, but we just know that there's a lesson in the season. Like, there's that quote that's like, there are no bad experiences because there's always a lesson. It's always teaching you something, which turn the darkest of things into light. Like you talked about, I have experienced a lot of terrible things, a lot of trauma in my life, but having that faith and having the tools that I do in my tool belt to show up every day in the world really helps me to fight through and to trust that there is meaning behind it all and that the universe has my back.
Yeah, I love it. And thank you so much for sharing it. I would like to ask you a personal
Thanks.
question. You don't have to answer this. I feel
Yeah.
like you're a very positive and fun person. I feel like it was always a part of you. And I feel like, is it something that you developed, or has it always been a part of you that's now free to shine? Or have you developed it as like a creation to help as you said, oh, I just want to be like this person. So let us know.
Yeah, no, I actually was always that way. I was a very magical child growing up. I had a bunch of light. I played instruments. I played the violin and the trumpet. I loved to dance and sing. I would put on hour-long concerts for my mom and make her watch. And I did lose the light for a long time there. Like I did touch about, my alcoholic father and I had a very hard relationship, and there was a lot of emotional abuse that went on there, and that triggered my self-esteem issues, and that I had to really work through that to come back to my joy and just remember to do things that bring me joy. Like I just kind of got lost in, making money, or what am I going to be when I grow up, right? Like, who cares? I really had to just come back to things that make me happy. And I do it all the time still. I recently picked up a piano and I started to learn a piano because
Oh,
it's hard and I like singing. I recently got like little light gloves and like flow poi and stuff because
nice.
I love to dance and colors are awesome. Who doesn't want to throw them around? And so, yeah, and I've really realized that when we come from joy, that's magnetic. That, it's a universal law that the universe responds to the energy that we put out. So if I'm living in this joy as frequently as I can, I just keep getting more things that bring me more joy. It's been amazing. It's been really awesome and so fun because we lose being a kid as an adult. And it's just so important for us. And so I try to get back to it as often as I can.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I feel like kids are the people are here. It's like I seen a meme recently about kids aren't here as they are teachers, they are spiritual teachers. They're here to teach us. We're here to keep them safe, but they're here to teach us, and that's powerful. And
Yes.
we must remember that because I feel like a lot of people look at play an ego role actually with their kids where they feel like, okay, I'm the boss, I'm the one. I know they need to provide boundaries and all that stuff, but a lot of people actually, parents don't believe that they can learn anything from kids. And I think that's insane because they are so fun. They are so present to the moment. We can learn so much from kids. It's crazy.
Yeah, I heard a really good quote that just blew me away the other day. It says, our children are not here for you to teach them your ways. They are here to teach you their ways, or like to relearn your ways. Like, and I just was like, wow, how powerful, because you do hear all the time my friends with children talk about how much they learn from their children. And we always think about, oh, it's our job to like pass on our beliefs, right? And then it's like, no, like we've had it all wrong all along, maybe. Like you never know. So it's very interesting. I love it. It's
Have you thought about how hard it is as a parent I feel like if I was going to have kids, then I'd want them to be happy, but I wouldn't want them to become me. I mean, I wouldn't want to force them into a position of doing what they do. I want them to do what they love, but I wouldn't push them into any avenue. But also, I think part of me thinks that might be quite hard, because you've got your ego. You want them to maybe do a profession. You maybe want them to go a certain way in life. It's hard not to. They're your kid. So I think that's a spiritual challenge for parents. The lesson of how do I bring up kids that I'm just loving them unconditionally is what I'm saying. The unconditional love must be a challenge, surely, to do that for kids.
Yeah, and just letting go. It's when I struggle with it all the time. And it's also one of my favorite practices, is just letting go, you know, because that's really not, we weren't put here for our parents to tell us who we're supposed to be or who they think that we're supposed to be. We're put here to be who we're supposed to be, you know? And so as much as I don't know, because I don't see the future, but I do hope that I would be able to just hold space for my child to be whatever expression they wanted to be.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thanks for saying. A good question here. Do you think that suffering is necessary for people's growth? Or do you think that, I mean, I'm thinking here in terms of the amount of people that it seems to be a shift on the planet. Yes, I agree. But there seems to be a lot of people, and I think you agree with me from what you said earlier, that I wouldn't say brainwashed, that's a bit of a harsh word, but programmed more like. Do you think it's possible for them to change and evolve without suffering, or do you think suffering is necessary for them, some kind of suffering process?
I believe in duality, and so I do believe that we must experience suffering to experience, I guess, the opposite of suffering, which I would say would be love. So yeah, I do believe fully in duality. As much as I absolutely hate it, I am also I'm starting to see the beauty in it, because we have been down those dark alleys. And it's so awesome to know that I don't believe I'll be down those dark alleys ever again. I only see alleys full of light now. Rainbow alleys is what I see. And so that is different for me, just to think about different than where I've been, to get inspired by the space of what could be. Because I always say that ideas are kind of like a disease. Once they get in your brain, they grow and change, and they do whatever they need to do. And you have to like act on them, right? Like I recently had the vision that I'm supposed to become an an astronaut. And so now the idea is here, and I'm like, oh crap. Like now I'm like, I got to go and do all these things. I have like 6 more years of work to do that I didn't know about before. Like, but the idea that you can have a brighter future, and that things can be different and look vastly more magical and full of light than they have in the past. It just sparks so much good stuff. Like you don't know where that idea is going to lead you to. Look where it's led us to, and where we continue to go. So yes, I totally believe people can reprogram no matter what.
I love it, and thanks for sharing your energy. I loved your Instagram video too. I could feel the positivity and vibe and flow and mastery. I can feel that it's something you've thought about deeply. You've been through a lot. I think I can feel with a lot of people on interviews that you know, when you go into flow, and I love watching it because it also makes me think of me too. Like I probably like that too when you guys watch, and it's powerful, and that's what ultimately hooks people in. When you speak with such energy as you do, it's very captivating. I think that's a good way to describe it, and that makes it believable and sincere to people, because they can feel that this person, you're talking from a place of not only sincerity but of deepness, because you've been through so much. You can, what I'm trying to say is, like, you can tell in the voice when someone speaks, like you can just tell straight away. And the longer someone watches you, they're like, oh, what she's speaking is sincere. She's been through a lot, and therefore that's how you get people in, because then they're like, okay, so how can I learn? And then you offer your services as you do, and then people are like, wow, eyes on.
Right. Yeah. And I really started to learn that when I ran my businesses from my heart, things really started to change. When I stopped worrying about the money. Yes, bills need to be paid. That's logical. But when I let go of the logical, the magical is able to step in. Just like this interview. Like, I do not know. Like I said, I tried to find the line back to where you came from. I was like, were we on a Facebook group together? Like, how did he end up on my screen? Like, and it was really funny because it was like 3 a.m. here in Colorado, right? In the US. And you just showed up, and it's magical. So when we can let go of the logical, the magical starts to show up. And yeah, totally. People will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Boom. Oh, that's so powerful. I love that quote. I've been thinking of that recently too. Yeah. You can have the logic and you can give people the advice and say, hey, and you could know in your heart, for example, sun gazing, fasting. You talk about all these things we know can heal people, exercising, but it's not about that. It's about how much you care. And can they see that you care? Cool.
Right.
Now they believe you because they know that you care. Now it can change.
Right. Yeah, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's another quote. I don't know by who. Lots of these are not by me. I was like, yeah, I mean, maybe the faith one. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I've been loving it. My work is awesome. I'm really passionate about it. Like I said, I do have my Overcoming Anxiety Masterclass up now. It's about an hour long. It's $33.33 because that's what I felt called to price it at. And that's US dollars. And yeah, you can access that there. And I am actually taking one-on-one clients now. I really, really want to work more closely with clients, just overcoming their anxiety to, like we talked about, step into their next version of themselves, their next level self. So yeah, those are the offers I have right now. I mean, amongst so many other things, I run probably, I think it's around like 4 different businesses through my one LLC. So I also teach people how to build websites and to market online and so much fun stuff.
I'll be hiring you then. I'll be hiring you.
Please, yes, reach out. But if you want any more information, lifehacksbypaige.com. You guys can reach it there.
Cool. Yes. And we'll tag you on the Facebook. So you've got that one covered. Instagram you're on as well. Was it Paige Carmichel?
Yep, Paige Carmichel Official on Instagram. And you'll find all my other pages through there. If you want mindset specifically, it would be Get Peace with Paige.
Get Peace with Paige. Is that spelled how you think it was spelled?
It's Paige, but yeah.
No. Peace. Because it's Peace.
Yeah, Get Peace.
Right? Yeah.
Get Peace with Paige.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Paige, for doing this. It's impromptu. We've only met, like we said, there's been a week in the making. Wow, such a long one. And we don't know each other very well. I look forward to getting to know better, though. Before we go, one last question. Is there any message you'd like to, I haven't asked you, or just a last final message you want to leave people with? A bit of message of hope or love or anything?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Really, just during this time, I really want to just inspire people to trust their intuition. Our intuition was given to us at birth, and it does not have any agenda other than to keep us safe, keep us healthy, keep us happy. And during this time, I know we're hearing opinions from all different directions, and we're not quite sure where to go sometimes. But your intuition, if you trust it, if you listen, generally, it will send you in the right direction. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say today. Thank you so much, Harry. I really, really appreciate you having me.
No problem, man. I'll give you a hug if I was there. And this was Holistic Health with Harry. Yeah, we can hug like that. And guys, everyone watching can hug too, man. This is a group hug thing. This is a thing. Yeah.
Group hugs to everyone watching. Love and light to all of you.
Yeah, it was Holistic Health with Harry with Paige Carmichel. Thank you very much, guys.